You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. I am Daniel.
I'm Clint, and this is John. Welcome back, John. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Doing very well. Had a great weekend.
Well, you're not a Florida fan. You're a Georgia fan.
Absolutely.
And you like betting money. And so I'm sure all of those things went well this weekend for you, John.
I'm kind of on the heater, guys. It's been a good weekend. So
that's you're literally using the same tactics that you've been using your entire life, just like being a homer and betting on Georgia. It's just that this year that's a heater.
Absolutely.
And every other year that is a really devastating way to lose a lot.
If they can string about 3 years of this together, I'll break even from all my previous Georgia bets.
It's fantastic.
That is fantastic. If you don't know by now, Daniel and I and John, we're all fans of UGA. We don't take ourselves too seriously nor each other. We're not gurus or insiders, although we try to pretend to be every once in a while, trying to understand what dolphin families are. They're called pods, turns out. And
so many people want you to know that, Clint. A lot of people.
All the people
want you to know that.
They did.
I don't know how more people are not talking about, is a dolphin a predator of an orca whale? Is that a thing? Are we
they're predators of sharks? They're predators of sharks. Who knows?
It's a shark. Yeah. Nat Geo. Get back to us. We'll see.
Get back to us.
I know zero about dolphins. So if you think,
all right, well, John, it's been fun having you on the podcast. So we'll see you.
If you think my takes on sports are hot, wait till I start talking about wildlife.
Oh no,
no idea.
Oh no, we're not gurus or insiders, but we are fans. We talk like fans do. So I made this podcast.
That's right. For fans, by fans. That's what the pod is all about. At Dawgs Podcast is the Twitter handle. If you're a Georgia fan, follow us on there. Send us a message. We would love that. LockedOnBulldogs@gmail.com is the email address. You can send us a message on there. The podcast is on video. It's on audio. If you're, you can find it on audio wherever podcasts are found. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, wherever you get your podcasts. Download Locked On Bulldogs podcast. Subscribe there. Leave us a rating and review there. Those things help us out a tremendous amount. And then head on over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to that. Love the way that the channel has grown. Love that a lot of you are consuming the podcast that way. If you're normally an audio person, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that would help us out a tremendous amount. And then just interact with what used to be a Florida fan. Now it's just a bunch of really excited, happy Georgia fans in the comments. So it's kind of a fun place to hang out. I'm not expecting a ton of – I don't think we're going to get a lot of Missouri interaction this week. Guys, I'm not sure – what the fan base is like, but
do they have fans?
There are Missouri fan. If you're out there, please reach out to us. We need
to know that you exist. So
we want to. It's on the Nat Geo theme. We just want to see you in the wild, see a Missouri fan, and just know what it's like to be. We just want to observe.
The only thing I can think of for Missouri fan is just Todd McShane climbing that freaking ladder, man. Just every year.
People sitting on a grassy knoll watching a football game in the SEC. It's pretty unbelievable. All right. We've got lots to talk about on the pod today. John was kind enough to jump on and join us to do it. And John, if you don't know, at John Tweets Sports on the Twitter machine, he's got takes. He's a lifelong Georgia fan. He's been thrown out of a Chili's with us, and so I don't know what more credentials you need from a person, but that's it. Also, Game 6 tonight, fellas. Let's just get it out of the way here at the beginning. We're all
Braves and 6.
We're all ready. Braves and 6. We all said would happen.
We're all ready. You said we're all ready. I'm not ready.
No, we're ready, Clint. We're ready. This is happening.
Clint,
jump on board.
Clint, tap the believe sign twice. It's happening.
It's happening. Ted Lasso called
Lasso.
pre-production, and he said, get on board. He said, all right, John, we had a good weekend. World's largest outdoor cocktail party. I'm just going to open it up to you. Your thoughts, your opinions, your takeaways from the game. Give me the 1A of all the takes from this weekend.
Well, so I joined on Friday before the cocktail party and said the thing I was excited about was Florida's offense versus Georgia's defense on third down, and Florida's propensity to turn the ball over. But third down, guys, Florida was 4 of 13 on third down, 30% third down conversion, which happened to be the same third down conversion they had against the only other top 25 defense they've played this year, which was Kentucky.
Shocking.
So I was excited, obviously, about the defensive success. I mean, y'all have already talked about it on the pod this week, but I was very excited about that 2 minutes and 16 seconds at the end of the first half. And honestly, for me, I was excited to see Nolan Smith has been playing so well this year for Georgia, but to see him actually get those game-breaking plays, ripping the ball out of Anthony Richardson's hands, the interception off the carom, to see that guy just get his moment, in the spotlight was just very exciting. And I thought the defense, they are who we think they are. And they showed up again. I mean, Florida, I tweeted it yesterday, but Florida, Dan Mullen coach teams have scored less than 10 points only twice since 2017. And it was 31-3 Mississippi State versus Georgia in 2017. And
Dawgs are barking first.
And Saturday. And so it's a big feat. Kirby started the year at the end of the Clemson game and said we want to hold teams under 13 points, and people think we're crazy. They say you'll never hold teams under 13 points this day and age. And he said, but why can't we? And I'm sitting here looking at the schedule and the rest of the teams remaining, and Florida, was probably the best chance. Some of us didn't want to say it out loud. Some of us said it out loud, but some of us didn't want to say it. But Florida, Dan Mullen, we thought maybe there was a wrinkle, maybe there was something. And you look down that schedule and this defense is just so legit. So I was very excited about that. Was also excited about Kearis Jackson catching that touchdown.
Thank you.
Stetson Bennett.
Thank you.
My gosh, my boy Kearis. He's been through it this year after leading the team in receptions last year. And to see him get that ball in the corner of the end zone in that moment, it's fantastic. So those are, kind of the highlights for me, besides the Dan Mullen meltdown in the presser and the continued meltdown over the course of the weekend in press conferences. Kearis,
he's never met a microphone he doesn't like to jibber jabber his way to unemployment on.
Guys,
it's
my favorite,
fantastic.
and I don't want to, we don't have to belabor this, but my favorite was on Monday. So yesterday, Dan Mullen has his press conference. A reporter asked him about the talent gap and about recruiting.
Yeah.
And or I'm sorry, it was the talent. It was about the talent gap between Georgia and Florida. And Dan Mullen's answer was, well, we beat them last year and they beat us this year. And he kind of paused for a second. And then the reporter asked the kind of question again. And then Dan Mullen said, well, I don't know. So the talent gap, I mean, you tell me. And then the reporter actually said, if you go and watch it, the reporter's like, do you want me to answer that? Like the reporter. Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you? Because I will.
To tell you? Yeah.
I have statistics. I have metrics right here.
That we're in. The Florida media is looking at their head coach. He's being snarky with them of, well, you tell me the talent gap. And they're literally saying, do you really want us to tell you?
Because we will. We will. Look, we could talk all day about Dan Mullen. Clint and I are actually, this maybe some breaking news. We're the hosts of the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, but we're actually starting a second second podcast is called Locked On Dan Mullen Press Conference Podcast. And we're just going to talk 5 days a week. It's your team every day, and it's just 5 days a week of us just talking about the Dan Mullen press conferences.
I'm going to offer a suggestion.
There's content for days. Yeah.
Launch that podcast soon, because there may not be many press conferences left in this tenure.
I forget, do offensive coordinators usually get a weekly presser?
I haven't seen very many. So
okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if the offensive coordinator at Utah gets a press conference weekly, but if he does, we will be covering it.
Bowling Green.
Your team every day. Okay. John, first of all, yes, Justin and I were very wrong about how many points Florida would score against this Georgia team. I was right about them being able to run the ball against Georgia, but that's fine. It's not neither here nor there. Georgia's defense dominated in this game. Florida's offense looked as inept as I thought they were. But real quick, I just want to say thank you for bringing up Kearis Jackson, because that's the thing that yesterday on the pod I was most upset that we didn't get around to, because, Clint mentioned the block on the touchdown run, which I thought was a huge play by, like Kearis, really showing the toughness. He's not the biggest guy, but he is the toughest guy in every room that he's in. And also, quietly, fellas, Clint, he's a really good wide receiver.
He's really good.
He's really good at catching the ball. That's a big deal.
Huge. We're excited to have him back. He's back healthy. It looks like he's finally in his shape. We're going to get some more wide receivers back. It looks like this coming week, back to full strength. Kirby's not going to have to say they could have played if we needed them. I don't think that.
In an emergency. Colin. They could have played in an emergency.
I'm hopeful they will be able to go this week. We're hoping they will be able to go.
We're hoping.
If that ever comes out.
I need to see the tape. I need to watch the tape before I'm able to decide
practice is really going to determine how they practice is really going to determine if they're going to go or not, guys.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. Hey, we'll come right back after this. But first, we'll let you about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is your daily fantasy for college football, made really, really easy. PrizePicks.com has an award-winning app. You can download it on the iOS or Google Play Store. You make the props. So whatever props you can think of, you can make, and you can get in on it. Make a prop. How many times Mizzou's going to fumble this week? Because it's going to be a lot. Make a prop of how many times Kearis gets a touchdown, because I'll sprinkle a little action on that. Daily fantasy made easy. They do cross sports or mixed sports betting. Go over there right now, prizepicks.com, or download the award-winning app. Put in the promo code Locked On, and you're going to get 100% deposit up to $100. That means if you put $100 in, they'll match it right on top of that, up to $100. Prizepicks.com. Daily fantasy made easy.
All right, John, I don't mean to try to stir up sympathy from the listeners or viewers of the show, but it's a fun season we're in right now. Like, can we all agree on that? This is a fun season. Okay. It's historic. Colin told you yesterday it's okay to believe in this team. It's okay to slap that sign twice and say, like, this is it. This is my team. We're the best team in college football. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, Clint, when you're the host of a podcast, the name of the game is content generation. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the name of the game is we get on here every dang day, and we're trying to talk about some things, okay? And we're just on here for 30 minutes going, we're really good. Georgia's really good. The defense is good. Both quarterbacks are good. Okay. So Kirby, meanwhile,
you're just going to stir that pot, is what you're saying, Dan.
Listen, I'm not here to try to stir any pot. There's no pot to be stirred. Kirby in the press conferences, meanwhile, we just alluded to it at the end of the last segment, John, is constantly saying things like, well, we got to get better. We got to watch. And that's, of course, coach speak, and we know that. He's got to keep his team motivated 100%. Let me ask you the question, though, as someone who's not employed to keep college kids motivated, as far as I know. I don't know what you do for a living. I'm not even here to ask what you do for a living. Nobody really knows how you make your lucrative income. John,
anytime you say entrepreneurial, you just like that's just as a grab bag for whatever the heck you want it to mean.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
means whatever you want
Just
to mean.
pushing
Okay.
paper, moving pennies, guys. That's all
Let
it
me just ask you as a non-coach on this team. Where can this Georgia team improve? What are one or two areas that you see as if we want to get ultimately to where we're going, which is the national championship, not just an appearance in the playoff, not just a trip to the national championship game, but a national championship trophy where it belongs in Athens. Where does this team need to take a step forward? Are there any significant areas?
I don't want to say the quarterback position and open up that,
but
it feels like.
But if you look, at Stetson Bennett's going to have to play better than he played against Florida, and I think that's one big step. So we can all agree on that. Whether it's Stetson or JT, whoever's in that position is going to have to play better because the way some of those decisions that were made on Saturday are some of the decisions that have been made at other times this year, and I think some of the other times that they've been made, you're in a position where you're up a significant margin, and so they don't.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But the Arkansas defensive back drops the ball.
There you go.
You still threw it right to him.
You threw it right to him. You made, you even if you go back and look, if you pan out and see the entire field, there are guys running open that should be a read that get missed. And so I think quarterback play is going to have to be better. I also think I will own up and say where I was wrong on the podcast on Friday too. I thought Georgia's offensive line was going to have their best game of the year against Florida, and they did it. You had Stetson running, a mobile quarterback benefited us in this game because Stetson was having to run for his life a couple of times, and the offensive line is going to have to consistently play better as a unit. There are individual players that play very consistently. There are individual games where the entire line is playing well together, but we have yet to put a string together, in my opinion, of the offensive line just being dominant. And when you get down into the playoffs, y'all know this as well as anyone. I mean, it is going to come down to the line of scrimmage, and people don't like to talk about that when you have games like 41-38 Texas A&M and Alabama. But if you go back and look, I mean, these games are still won at the line of scrimmage. And if
explosive run plays,
absolutely, you have to be explosive. You can't just depend on a defense that will show up. We know, we just talked about it. We are who they are who we think they are. But you can't depend on that to bail you out. You're not always going to get 3 turnovers and 21 points in 2.5 minutes. And so that offensive line, when I look at it, I have more questions than I had going into Florida. So those are 2 areas for me that I would start with.
I think those are fair. Those are 2 areas that, if you look at it, the inside, the interior, on the bookends held up okay. Van Pran had a couple of holding calls and one that should have been called. He got beat a couple times, was out of position. They'll get better. They'll coach up, and thankfully we got some time to do it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We're going to come back, talk some more shop. Maybe we'll get into some more Dan Mullen speak. But before we do, Daniel, our listeners are the best in the entire world. I was on Twitter as we were going, and Daniel Jones, the best review we've ever had in our entire lives.
Daniel Jones, say more things.
He's back on Twitter, and go look on Twitter. He made a mock-up of The Lion King where it says, "Oh, look, sire, the herd is on the move," and then below it is a herd of dolphins on the move. Daniel Jones.
Shout out to Daniel Jones.
Is it a herd or a pod?
It's a pod. Okay. It's a pod, but I didn't know that.
I know. I got it.
Listen, It's not even Joel, who I have dubbed the official graphic designer of the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, but there's a lot of great listeners on the show. Daniel Jones trying to get himself an invite to be a guest on this show. That's what we're getting close. All right. We'll be back. We're going to talk some Missouri. We're going to look ahead on the schedule and see what awaits Georgia this weekend and beyond. But first, want to let you know about BetOnline. BetOnline is your online sportsbook expert. They are the place to go to place every wager on college football, on the Braves to win Game 6 of the World Series, on the NBA, on the NFL. College basketball season coming up, John. I know you're excited about that. I can't wait to get you on the pod to talk about college basketball. All of that can be done at betonline.ag. It's the place that Clint and I go. It's your online sportsbook experts. You go there right now, you enter the promo code Locked On, and you're going to get a 50% bonus on your initial deposit. That's 50% free money with which to wager. If you go to betonline.ag and enter the promo code Locked On at BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, John. Putting the cocktail party in the rear view for a moment. Let's look ahead to Missouri. The schedule as there's a lot of people saying Florida, quote unquote, last significant test for Georgia before the SEC championship game. First of all, I'll just throw that. Is that sentence true?
I mean, it's the SEC, right? I think that sentence is true, but I would watch out for Tennessee. I wouldn't sleep on Tennessee as we stand today. Now, do I think Tennessee is going to beat Georgia? Heck no. But if you're thinking about potential test, that's a game that, as Tennessee rolls on, they're starting to they'll do this thing good this week. They'll do this thing good that week. They haven't put both of those together, offense and defensive performances together in a game just yet. And I hope they don't against us. But I don't know. It's everybody has good players, right? This is Kirby coach speak. But when you're in this league, it really depends on your mindset and how you show up. I wouldn't put Tennessee in a closet and say Georgia has no more tests down the line.
It's kind of you to try to nurture our feelings that way, John. But the answer to the question is there is no test for Georgia left on the schedule, which is just we just accept it. Just move on.
How many points do you think? How many points do you think Tennessee is going to put up on us?
I do think Tennessee has the opportunity to score the most points that anybody scored against Georgia this season, because Tennessee will run the most plays against Georgia that anybody will run this season. I would bet my house on that Tennessee runs more offensive plays against Georgia than any other team has run this season.
89, 92.
Would you define that as a test?
Yeah, I mean, I would define it as a new challenge.
There you go.
But, I mean, but not one that's going to require a tremendous amount of strain. The answer to the question, though, it was a trick question. The answer was no. Florida was not the last significant test that Georgia would face, because Florida was not a significant test. Florida's a trash program. They were the fifth best team that we played all season. So, no, we're not. They were not the last significant test. Okay. So let's talk about this Missouri team. John, I've been doing a little bit of watching college football. It's a thing that I enjoy doing. I've been doing a little bit of research for my my evening job here as the host of a podcast. Mm-hmm. Come to an interesting conclusion, and that is Missouri is quite bad at football. Agree or disagree?
Missouri is quite bad on one side of the football, for sure.
Ooh.
And that is a defensive side of football. Missouri is dead last in the SEC in total defense.
And you pick your category. Like, we're talking defensive efficiency. We're talking yards for you pick the category. Their
defense is terrible.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
Did we kick Vanderbilt out already, or does Vanderbilt still play in the SEC?
So Vanderbilt still plays in the SEC. Now,
And you're telling me last?
Hear me out. Vanderbilt is giving up 462 yards per game on defense.
That's high. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Missouri, 475 yards per game. Missouri's given up not only that. So that's yards per game, right? So you have a game and maybe like somebody put up 700 yards on you, and Missouri is giving up 6.68 yards per play. And that is worse than Vanderbilt. Missouri is giving up more yards per play than Vanderbilt on defense. So Missouri on defense is not a good football team at all.
This is not against. Can I just put a little context on these numbers that we're throwing out? Like, okay, Missouri gave up 35 points to Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. They gave up 62 points to Tennessee. Sure, mm-hmm. Tennessee we've said can be an explosive offense. Hendon Hooker was playing in that game, not Joe Milton, the statue, and so that's what. But then Missouri gave up 41 points to Boston College. Not great. Not great. Oh, no, Clint. It gets way worse than that. Missouri gave up 28 points to Vanderbilt last week. Missouri gave up 35 points to North Texas.
Oh, no.
Missouri gave up 28 points to Southeast Missouri. And Missouri gave up 24 points to Central Michigan, y'all. Like, 50 Burger is definitely in play this week for Georgia.
Yeah, when you look at that line, 37.5, it's dropped down from 39. Like you talk about now, John, question everybody's asking. You said one side of the ball they're terrible. Mm-hmm. What's their offense like?
So their offense is not bad, guys. Now you just rattled off some teams that they have played, right? So
not good teams.
They have not played good teams.
Anytime you have to put two directions into a name of your school that only has one state, and there's not North Dakota, South Dakota, North Carolina, South, that's bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the best defense obviously they played was Kentucky. They scored 28 on Kentucky. They had about 400 yards of offense versus Kentucky. So not bad, but but I will say this guy Tyler Beatty. I don't know how you say his last name. I'm going to call him. You think it's what?
Well, I'm just gonna let you call him whatever you want to call him. I think it's Beatty though.
I think it's Beatty, but I want to call him Batty because he's averaging 124 yards per game running the football.
And this is the guy that they hope is healthy so that he can start. This is
absolutely yes. So, but when you look at what's happened with Missouri, if you look at their stat line, the reason that they are in a terrible situation with their win-loss record and have not played well at all is because defenses have been able to make them one-dimensional. So if you go down and look, you have games where they rush for 88 and 74 yards and threw the ball for 303 and 322 yards, and they lost both of those games. If you go and look at, they have where they're balanced, where, they're balanced against North Texas and Vanderbilt. They have won those games. But every other game, their losses, every one of their losses, they have become one-dimensional. And what's happened is that the team that they have played has stopped the run. So Georgia can stop the run in a big way. I know Daniel was ready for Florida to run all over Georgia, but believe it or not, they actually can stop the run.
No one said that. No one on the pod said that.
Half the pod did not say that. Correct.
But yeah, so Missouri, I think that Missouri has shown some flashes on offense. They've scored a lot of points, right? I mean, they are putting up points on the board. But the way that they lose is they are not going to outscore you because every team that they've lost against has made them one-dimensional, and that seems like, when I look at that, it seems like a pretty easy thing to do, knowing that it's happened 4 or 5 times against some teams that are not great.
So Missouri, to your point, John, has not been held under 14 points this season. Texas A&M held them 14. Obviously, 13 seems to be that magic number. So you think Georgia? I mean, Georgia better defense than Texas A&M, but Texas A&M fairly stout defense, at least athletic defense. We'll say. Georgia's holding Missouri under 13 points, though.
Oh, 100%. I for me, this really feels like, and I'll stick my neck out there with go ahead and make the Tuesday.
Come on
pick,
with it.
Not knowing much about anything before we get to Saturday. But I think this is a 49-52-10 type game.
Ooh.
I think it is an absolute drubbing of Missouri, and I think the 10 points, are going to come probably in the second half, later in the game. Like I just don't see Missouri being able to score on Georgia, because Georgia will not only make you. It's different when you play teams like Texas A&M, where Missouri, a very good defense. Missouri threw the ball for 230 yards, ran the ball for 98 yards, 328 yards of offense. It's different when you play that kind of defense and a defense that makes you zero dimensional. There are defenses that make you one dimensional, and there's the Georgia defense that makes you zero dimensional. And I just don't see Missouri being able to string enough plays together to score more than 10, in my opinion. We
got to start asking the question, which, by the way, 49-10, blowout city. Be careful. That only covers the spread by a half a point now. Yeah, you got to tread lightly, Georgia fans. Just tread lightly. The question we should start asking every week is, can this offense, the Missouri offense, the offense we're playing against, outscore the Georgia defense? That's the question that's on, because Florida could not. They did not outscore the Georgia defense. Arkansas got blown out by the Georgia defense and special teams. Can the offense that we're playing against accumulate more points than the defense and special teams of Georgia?
Somebody give me action on that. Somebody in the comments give me action on that. I want to know some juice. I want to know what the numbers are, because
look,
I'd probably take it.
That's PrizePicks. That's a prop bet for you. If you want, you said any prop bet I could think of.
I can think of that.
We here. Okay. John, thanks for coming on. John, tell the people where they can find you, where they can find more of your stuff, in case they don't know already.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at John Tweet Sports with no H. And you can find me at dogdispatch.com, where we'll have a content today recapping Florida, and we'll have content on Thursday looking ahead to Missouri. So hop on, lock in.
Fantastic. Dogdispatch.com. Get over there. Give my man a follow. And John, always a pleasure. We'll see you on the other side of this Braves game. We'll see how it goes.
Man. World Series champions.
Hopefully we all make it out alive. Let's do this together.
I can't stay up late another night.
I can't go to Game 7, guys. I won't make it. All right. Thanks for being on. Clint and I will be back tomorrow. We got more coming up this week. Some more guests coming on, so stay tuned for all that. We'll see you guys then.